Why? Why do so many great strategies just die? It's something that haunts every executive, right? You spend months, maybe even a year on the analysis. You build the perfect plan, you present this compelling vision, and then crickets. Nothing. Why does this keep happening?
Well, here's the thing, and it's probably not what you'd expect. Your strategy isn't failing because of some flaw in the final step. It's failing because it never, ever overcomes the inertia of day one. All that friction, all that resistance, it's happening right at the starting line, not the finish. So let's dive into this. Part 1, the strategy graveyard. Yeah, it sounds a little grim, but we have to understand where these brilliant plans go to die before we can figure out how to save them. And this is the absolute heart of the problem. The real challenge isn't your logic. Your plan is probably sound. The roadblock is emotion. It's the human element. Think about it. Your organization is tired. They're wary of another big change program. And honestly, they're a little fearful. A beautiful spreadsheet doesn't overcome fear. Momentum does.
You know, every strategy really faces this fork in the road. Path number 1, the one we all hate, is you deliver your beautiful slide deck, and then you just kind of hope someone calls you back in 3 months. The other path? Well, that's where you've already delivered real value, and the employees themselves are literally demanding that the change continues. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Okay, enough doom and gloom about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about the engine that can power us right through that initial wall of resistance. This is what we call the momentum cycle. Now look, this isn't about just crossing your fingers and hoping for an early success. Nope. This framework is designed to help you deliberately engineer one. The whole goal is to create tangible, undeniable proof that your idea works. You want to generate a pull for the bigger project before you even have to ask for formal approval. And it's a pretty straightforward cycle, broken down into 6 key steps. First, you identify a high-impact, low-effort win. Then you validate it with the people actually doing the work. You implement it, and fast. Then you bank the benefits. You showcase that success, and finally, you use all of that to create a pull for the full project. Okay, theory is one thing, but a real-world story, that's where it really clicks. So let's walk through a classic example of this cycle in practice. This is the story of a very skeptical CFO and an incredibly painful spreadsheet. All right, so steps 1 and 2. Identify and validate. Picture this. A consulting team knows the CFO has already seen 3, count 'em, 3 previous attempts to fix the budget process fail. So instead of writing another 100-page report, they went looking for pain, and they found it. An analyst who spent days every month manually mashing together 40 different spreadsheets. They went and talked to her, and they validated just how excruciating it was.
So what did they do next? Step 3, implement. And this is the beautiful part. They didn't schedule a single meeting. They didn't write a proposal. They didn't ask for a budget. They just built a simple little script that did the entire task in 20 minutes. It was a targeted, guerrilla-style solution to a very real problem.
And this is where the magic really happens. The result wasn't just good, it was emotional. The analyst wasn't just relieved, she was ecstatic. She immediately showed her boss. So for the CFO, this wasn't another slide about potential savings. This was a real person on his team whose work life just got dramatically better right before his eyes. And that's how they closed the loop. Steps 4, 5, and 6. Bank, showcase, and pull. They banked the hours saved. They showcased it by leading their final presentation with a live demo and the analyst's story. And all of that created an unstoppable pull. The CFO's reaction wasn't, should we do this? It was, why aren't we doing more of this right now? Let's fund the whole thing. You know, if this whole thing sounds familiar, it's because it is a perfect real-world application of what Malcolm Gladwell calls the tipping point. By engineering this one small, highly visible success, you completely change the social proof around the entire project, and that makes the bigger idea so much easier for everyone to accept. Okay, so you see how it works in a story, but how do you actually put this into practice yourself? Let's move to part 3, your implementation playbook. Let's make this actionable. So here are 3 things you absolutely have to do. 1, actually block out time for this in your project plan. Seriously, what gets scheduled gets done. 2, focus on simple process fixes, not some complex new tech. You want the win to be quick. And 3, and this is so important, make your team members the heroes of the story.
Give them all the credit. When they're the heroes, they'll want to go find the next win for you. Now, you got to be careful because there are a few common traps here. Avoid picking a win that's secretly super complex or politically charged. That's a recipe for disaster. Also, make sure the win you pick is a meaningful example of the larger opportunity. You don't want to trivialize the bigger problem. And finally, frame it as a successful pilot, not the final solution, so you don't accidentally kill the urgency for the main project. And when you nail this is the ultimate payoff. The whole dynamic just flips on its head. You're no longer pushing a massive change program onto the organization. Instead, the organization, led by your most enthusiastic employees, is pulling it from you. It's a total game changer. All right, let's bring this all home. I want to give you one simple, powerful action you can take with your team, like this Monday morning, to get the ball rolling. Okay, I want you to think about your next project review meeting. Your go-to question is probably something like, so, what are your recommendations, right? We all ask it. I want you to just throw that question out the window. And I want you to replace it with this one. What have you already implemented, and what results did you get? See the difference? That single question completely reframes the conversation away from theory and towards tangible action and real banked value. It starts to change your team's culture from one of just planning to one of doing. So I'll leave you with this one question to chew on. Forget about the grand 5-year strategic plan for just a second. What is one small, nagging, deeply frustrating problem that you and your team can actually solve in the next 10 days? Go find it, go fix it, and start building your own momentum cycle.